Hello everyone, I'm Andy from the Pixel Pub, and I'm here to talk about my top 10 games from 1994. Okay, we got some games from 20 years ago. Haven't done one of these top 10 games from the past in a while. So for those of you who don't know what I do here, I pick a year and I pick my top 10 games from that year, and I have some rules. Okay, the rules typically are, has to be the US release date if I could find it. I make some mistakes on that sometimes. I'll get to that a little bit later. It has to be a home console release, so something I would have played in 1994. So no arcade releases. And it has to be a console. So I didn't really have a PC back then. I didn't really play a lot of PC games. So I think I've done one PC game in the past, and that was Doom, because I did have a shareware version of it that I played. But for the most part, it's going to be console games because I was a console kid, and handhelds. Consoles and handhelds. So we got American release dates, home, console, handheld. All right, speaking of American release dates, last time I did this was 1993. I did, my number one game was Mega Man X. I really love Mega Man X. Turns out it might have came out in 1994, so in America. So I'm going to keep that the way it is. It is my number one game in 1993. It's not on this list. This is a completely separate list. And just take the L on that if that is correct. So I've messed up there. Hopefully I do better go forward. The further we get down the timeline, the more accurate the dates will be historically. Like, when you get the late 80s and early 90s, some of that stuff is, what does Nelson say? Records of that era are spotty at best. Yeah, whatever the quote is, it kind of applies there. So anyway, let's start with number 10. All right, number 10 might piss a lot of people off, but it's on this list for you because I know a lot of people like it. I like it too, but it's up there because of, I do like it, and because of overwhelming, fan sentiment. People love this game. It is Final Fantasy VI. You see, I've got the American version, Final Fantasy III. It did come out in 1994. It is a fun Final Fantasy game. I can tell you the reason why I don't like it as much as the rest of them is because there's an event that happens in the middle of the game. If you played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And after that, the game becomes kind of aimless. And I have a feeling if I'd played it when I was, a child, over like a summer vacation, and had all the time in the world to, go to every single town, talk to every single person to figure out what to do next, I would have had a ball with it. But I played it for realsy on the GBA after I had a job and everything, and I got to that point, I was like, what am I doing? But before you do get to that point, and even after, it still has a great, battle system, great music. It's got great sprite work for the Super Nintendo. It's an amazing looking game on the Super Nintendo. It's got a fun, colorful cast of characters. The big ensemble cast. It's one of those Final Fantasy games where you might have trouble nailing down who the main character is. There's so many who take the stage, center stage, over the the entire game. I think most people probably say it's Terra, but we got Locke, we got Sabin. He's probably not the main character, but I love the big ensemble cast. I wish Final Fantasy would go back to that. I know 16 was the big action game, Devil May Cry thing. They're experimenting with that, and that's fine. Hoping that they will go back to something similar to this, because I did enjoy that aspect of the game a lot. Just all the fun character interactions, stuff like that. It's one of the reasons why I like the Trails of Cold Steel series I'm playing right now. But yeah, Final Fantasy VI is number 10. Okay, number 9 might actually piss off some people as well. Is Earthbound. Earthbound, another RPG of the era, Super Nintendo era for RPGs. A lot of heavy hitters, a lot of big time, still love to this day games. I've played a good chunk of Earthbound. I actually played it on the Wii U. This is one of the first times they put it on the Virtual Console, was on the Wii U. I bought it and played it for a good chunk of it on that, and I had a good time with it. My main issue with Earthbound is I don't like very super harsh inventory limits, and that's what these games do. You get your character holds 8 things, and that's it. And you get another character, and they can hold 8 things, and then you get another character, and they can hold 8 things, and your max, amount of items you can hold is 28, and it's man, I need more healing items. I'm not good at these types of games. I need some help. But that aside, it's hard to doubt that Earthbound is a extremely well-made game, and that's why it deserves to be on any top list in 1994. This very quirky, fun graphics, great music. Just it's Nintendo doing stuff that they do, but in a turn-based RPG, and it's beloved for a reason. It's just a great fun time, but if you don't like inventory limits, it might be number 9 on your list, just like it's number 9 on my list. Okay, number 8. It's a fun one. This is right up my alley. It is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. Not the Sega Genesis version. The Sega Genesis version is a different game. It is a fighting game. This is a beat 'em up, and it's a damn good one too that you can beat in like 45 minutes. It's awesome. Each stage you're playing as one of the different rangers, and halfway through the stage they do this morphin time, and then you're playing as the morph ranger, and then you get into the Megazord and you fight a big boss at the end of each stage. And it's got amazing music. It was screaming to me as a kid. I wanted to play this game, but I didn't have a Super Nintendo. I had a Sega Genesis. So this Power Rangers game I rented sucked. It was a shitty fighting game. This is a great game. When I got into emulation and stuff like this, and I was actually able to mess around with it, because I knew it was a different game. I saw it in like magazine ads and stuff. And I actually got to mess around. I was like, man, this is a damn fine little beat 'em up. Like it's perfectly cromulent. It's better than cromulent. It is good. It is great. It is number 8 on my list. Number 7 is Super Bomberman 2. I love the Bomberman games from this era. Super Bomberman 1 and Super Bomberman 2. Some of my favorites of all time. Bomberman on N64, also super great. But Super Bomberman 2, I remember seeing it at like a KB Toys. I was with my brother shopping around for some reason. It was just me and him, and I think his girlfriend at the time, now his wife. And I saw it. I was like, I didn't know they made a Bomberman 2. He had Bomberman 1, and when you bought Bomberman 1 back then, it came with the 4-player adapter. And we played a lot of 4-player Bomberman back then. And I was like, man, you should get Super Bomberman 2. You should get it. And I was so much younger, like, probably listen to me. But he did. He got it, and it was great. And this game is better in a lot of ways than Super Bomberman 2 because the single player in Super Bomberman 1 is single stage screens. So just like most Bomberman single player stuff is, and multiplayer for that matter. Where you bomb all the enemies and then you have to find the exit. This one's a bit more elaborate. The screens, scroll left and right, up and down, and you got these different kind of nodes that you have to hit to unlock the doors to the next stage. It's got fun boss battles. It's got the fun, speaking of Power Rangers, the enemies in this game seem right out of Power Rangers. They're kind of like Bomberman, not rip-offs, but like they look like Bomberman, but one of them's got like a magnet on his head, and one of them's got a heart, and they're evil. They're gonna fight you. And I don't know. Super Bomberman 2, super nostalgic for me. Number 7 on the list. Okay, number 6 is another pretty much multiplayer only game that I played a lot of, and that is NBA Jam on the Super Nintendo specifically. Never really played the Genesis version. I know it's slightly different, but I played this a lot on multiplayer on my brother's Super Nintendo. I played it with my friend who I grew up with down the street, and I'm not big on sports in general. Sports games a little bit more so, especially of this era. They can be a whole lot of fun. NBA Jam is amazing. Just they took basketball and distilled it down to just it's like purest form, and just it's like I don't know, heroin, but a video game. It's just the port of the arcade classic with all the voices and stuff, the boom shakalakas, and he's on fire, and all the different athletes of that time that you can pick the different teams, and you see the digitized faces of all the men that you could play as. I have no idea who most of them are. I think I could barely name you like 2 of them at the time. I think Scottie Pippen's in this game. But yeah, I had a damn good time with it. Anybody who grew up, was my age around that time, probably touched NBA Jam in some shape or form, whether it was the home version, whether it was the arcade. It was everywhere, and for good reason, because it was a damn good time. Okay, next up, we got Double Trouble, in more ways than one, is Mortal Kombat 2. Be it the Super Nintendo version or the Genesis version. The Genesis version is the version I played the most because I did have a Sega Genesis, and I used to rent this game a lot. God, what a fun fighting game. I still think it is my favorite Mortal Kombat. Ultimate Mortal Kombat's up there. The Mortal Kombat 9 on the 360 and PS3, that's up there too. But this is the one I probably played the most. I rented this game a lot, and I rented the Mortal Kombat games a lot back then. Like, these games were heavily advertised. They were super hyped up. They got to me. I was like, yes, let's go. And I did play quite a bit of multiplayer with my buddies, but mostly I played single players because I would rent the game and play it at night, by myself, eating a pizza, stuff like that, just having a good old time. I just loved all the different additions they added to it, like the friendships and the babalities and just all the different wacky stuff that they did with this game, and of course all the fatalities and all the characters. I really liked the addition of a playable reptile. That was a great time for me. Mortal Kombat 2, still one of the best, still one of the good ones. It's number 5 on this list. Okay, number 4 was number 1 on my list for a while before I did more research and I did more, digging on the games in 1994, and it is Donkey Kong Country. Now, I think this game kind of gets a bad rap these days because, I don't know, people look at it and play it now, and they thought if they played it in their childhood, then maybe they thought it was more than it actually is. Like, I don't know if I ever looked at this game and thought it was like groundbreaking. Like, it was using a very specific, way of making the graphics, and there was pre-rendered graphics that they weren't necessarily hand-drawn and digitized and put into a Super Nintendo game. And it kind of looks, kind of funky now, but at the time it was like, that looks different, that looks cool. But I think people look at it now and it's like, nah, it's just kind of a simple platformer with bad graphics. That's not me. I look at this game and still feel pretty damn good about it. I did play the snot out of it when I was a kid on my brother's Super Nintendo. And when I did get my own Super Nintendo several years later, it's one of the first games I got because I freaking love Donkey Kong Country. And the series as a whole, 1, 2, and 3, all really good and still relatively affordable on the Super Nintendo. So if you're collecting Super Nintendo games, you need something good that you don't want to spend a lot of money on, Donkey Kong Country. But it is a great platformer. It is the beginnings of the end of platformers for me, I guess. Like, for that era, it is the start of the collect-thon, and then you get Donkey Kong 64, and it is like massive, too much. Like, what the hell were y'all thinking? This one just scratches just that right itch. So you got bananas, you got the Kongs, you got the different the DK coins and stuff that you can collect, and that's about it, and you're good with that. And I'm good with Donkey Kong Country being number 4. Okay, next up is a game I was super hyped for as a kid. Still, when I look at it, I get hyped when I see the box art, and I don't have the box. I wish I had the box. It was a Sega Genesis game in the cardboard. It's Sonic and Knuckles. Now, I've since lost my my cardboard box for it. I don't think I ever really had it. I think I opened it up and threw it away like an idiot. I actually have several copies of this game somehow. One of them is missing this little hatch. And if you'd wonder what that little hatch is, this is Sonic and Knuckles, the sequel to Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Apparently, if the lore is to be believed, Sonic 3 was supposed to be a pretty massive game for Sega, and it was supposed to come out at a specific time with a big tie-in with McDonald's, where they had toys and stuff like that, which I do remember getting a few of as a kid. And Sega said, oh, no, we're not going to make it in time. So they basically chopped the game in half. And what we got as Sonic 3 was the first half. This is the second half. And I guess to make up for that, they had this little thing at the top where you can insert Sonic 3 and you can play Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And it's basically the first game and Knuckles. You can play it all the way, first stage to last, in one cartridge. And you can play, I think it added like some extra stuff to it. I can't exactly remember. Like, you can play as like Hyper Knuckles. I remember unlocking him. You can also put in Sonic 2 on top of this and play as Knuckles in Sonic 2, which I thought was bizarre. Like, I still don't know how a lot of this stuff works, but back then I had no idea. Well, I had some idea. I was like, okay, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, the sprites are the same. Like, you can look at Sonic 2 sprite and Sonic 1 sprite, it's like completely different. And like, the way it feels is the same. Okay, I understand how you can put these two together, but putting Knuckles in Sonic 2, mind-blowing. Had no idea how that worked. Which I guess it was just like a ROM hack for the time. And then you put in any other game and you just unlock the big sphere mazes where you collect all the balls. The balls as Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails. And it was fun to mess around with for a little bit. But the meat of the game was plopping on Sonic 3 and playing through the entire Sonic 3 as it was originally realized, I imagine. But Sonic and Knuckles on its own, still pretty damn good. It's got an opening title screen with Sonic falling out of the sky and the big death egg falling behind him, and he lands next to Knuckles, and they do their little handshaky things, and then you're off to the races on Mushroom Hill Zone. Great looking game for the time. This thing keeps moving. Put my finger right there. Great looking game for the time on the Sega Genesis. Got excellent music. I don't think there was a Sonic game on the music front on the Sega Genesis that missed. They all had great sounding tunes, and this one's up there, man. Sky Sanctuary Zone. Lava Reef, one of my favorites. Yes, Sonic and Knuckles, number 3. Okay, number 2 is a game that wasn't on this list for the longest time. I had my list ready to go basically, and I was like, well, let me double check some stuff because I don't want to forget anything. And I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff with this list that I've made already. And for some reason, this game popped into my head. It's like, this had to come out around this time. And I looked it up. Sure enough, it came out in 1994, and it went straight to the top, straight to number 2. It is Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land. Now, I got this game when it came out, and I freaking loved it. I did love Super Mario Land 2. It was great, but I like this even better. All the different unique power-ups that Wario gets with like the dragon head and the jet head and stuff like that. And he can like run and ram, like shoulder tackle stuff and explode stuff and do the big bunt stuff and crash through a bunch of blocks. This is like peak Game Boy for me. This is it. This was them firing on all cylinders. I freaking love this game. Give me a 2D HD remake, Nintendo. Just do it. Give it to me. Or give me another Wario Land game. Let's go. I know WarioWare is fun and people love it, but give me some Wario Land. Like, I love all the different stages, the different worlds named after foods, like Syrup Island and stuff like that. Yes, Wario Land 2 is a masterpiece on the Game Boy. If you haven't played it, play it right now. Find some way to do it. It's a great platformer. It's a great Mario game, but starring Mario. Okay, number 1's a big one. As soon as I started looking up games for 1994, proper without like I'd put Donkey Kong Country, I was going through my memory. And as soon as I started digging deeper, I saw this. I was like, well, this is clearly number 1. It is Super Metroid. Now, Super Metroid is the peak of the Metroid franchise to me. I just did a video talking about Metroid Prime a few minutes ago. That's a great game. Super Metroid is the best one to me. I really like Metroid Zero Mission as well, but Super Metroid still freaking kills it. And I don't have a lot of nostalgia for this game outside of seeing it at a department store and be able to play it there, or at least watching the demo. It was a same department store, same kiosk that I saw Mutant League Football, Super Metroid, and the third one was just on the tip of my tongue, and now it's gone. Anyway, I associate Super Metroid with that department store that's right down the road from me now, where I live at now. So I didn't, play it that much. I had played Metroid on the NES, and I was like, man, this is neat, but I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, it's not Mario where you go left or right and you win. It's something you have to explore, and like for my, very dumb child mind, it wasn't happening. So I didn't play Super Metroid until they put it on the Virtual Console on the Wii. I didn't play it for realsies, and I played through it there, and I had a great, damn good time. I played through it like at least 2 or 3 times on the Wii. Just had a super good time. So when I got my own Super Nintendo, it's at the top of the list. Had to get it. Super Metroid, game of a generation for me. It's just I haven't done a top 10 Super Nintendo games, but you can be damn sure this near the top. It's Super Metroid. Number 1, my top 10 games, 1994. That's been my top 10 games of 1994. If you have any top 10s, top 5s, top 3s, top 1s of 1994, please leave them in the comments below. If you got some games that you think I missed out on and you want to let me know why I was wrong, tell me in the comments below. I'll talk about anything. I've been Andy from the Pixel Pup. Please like and subscribe. All of that fun stuff. Peace out.